What's going on, guys? This is Crypto Dilly and my co-host A-Bomb, and we are the host of Speculation Alley. And this week we got an awesome topic that we're going to get into, and I'm actually going to let A-Bomb take it away real quick and explain the topic that we're going to get into today.
Well, thank you very much, Dilly. I appreciate that. I hope everybody's having a fabulous Wednesday today.
Fabulous.
And today, what we're getting into is going to be Wagmi-Sans Arena. And there's been some talk and chatter about this. You know, you got to go check out the facts section on 10KTF battle.town update that they've been doing over there with a whole bunch of new stuff with recycling, the recap for the year, and as well the arena. So with that, what could this mean? And what does this hold maybe in for us in season 2? Well, let's jump into that. Dilly, you want to lead the way?
Yeah, buddy. So if you actually go to Battletown and you go to their terms of service section in the bottom right corner, you can actually pull up a lot of information. And I want to give credit where it's due. Saskatoon Squatch actually wrote up a nice thread about this specific thing. And I think it's not really something a lot of people have really talked about. Just because a lot of people don't read this stuff. And so one of the big things that you get into is right away, it has registration. So we register for these events for Battletown. And obviously we've experienced that. If you have participated in 10KTF, we know that there's a countdown and then we register for the event. And then there's a time period where your NFTs are locked. And so what's interesting about this, though, is it talks about entry. So the first real interesting thing about the terms of service is there's an entry to participate in missions. You must hold the eligible NFTs. And then there's the entry period. And right in here, it first mentions Wagmi-Sans Arena. And to start a mission during the entry period, when the entry period ends, your NFTs are locked up during the duration of the mission, and you can leave the mission at any time, but you forfeit the rewards, right? So this is all kind of already given information. It's something that we already know, but the interesting part about this is Wagmi-Sans Arena. What do you think about that, A-Bomb?
I mean, it just gets into a lot of like first shooter game, like, you know, speculation. We've seen Call of Duty, you know, you see the war zone of Call of Duty. We've seen Fortnite and sort of their arena Battletown. And it's setting something up where I think we've kind of talked about this in the past, where you could see a larger scale sort of, I don't want to say like a huge open game, but like somewhat of a smaller map. Same thing again with like Call of Duty's Warzone. It's not a huge map. It's a pretty like small map actually in comparison to most other games. But with that, I think WeNew has the capabilities to build a smaller map with this sort of arena, even if it is just an arena, but sort of a gamified battle arena that we could all take part in. I mean, we've seen recently with FOMO swords, sock full of doorknobs, and a flamethrower, how we do have items now that could be used for attack, and as well we have combat gear like, you know, high tops the combat boots and the Kevlar vest and you know, battle helmets essentially. So it sort of seems like we're gearing up to be able to use certain items in this arena, which gets me just going. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that you could definitely see in the other side, right? I talked about it on a space with Josh Bobrovsky and Atare and Diamond Hands, and what we were talking about is how the other side is going to be utilized. And I think it's going to be a platform, and you have all these different developers they're going to have these ODKs that they can start to build inside of these different metaverses, not even just the other side, but I think Wagmi-Sans Arena is definitely something where we're going to load in and we're going to be able to participate. And one of the really interesting things about the terms of service is it talks about mission statistics and live scoring, right? That's something that's different that we have not actually utilized yet up to this point, meaning that they're going to be skill-based, right? It's not just you load it in like Oregon Trail and you just wait and you get a reward at the end. Eventually, these are going to become a lot more intuitive, right? And you're going to actually participate in the missions like what you were saying, and you'll have live gaming statistics and you'll have a higher tier reward for the participation that you actually have within Wagmi-Sans Arena, right? And so what I'm picturing is like an arena within this other side metaverse where you could have people watching the game play out right before your eyes, right? So I think, we see this right now in the real world. You see people go to the Super Bowl, or you go to a live stadium and you watch baseball games or hockey or whatever, and you're able to watch people participate in a game. I think we're going to see that, but in a virtual space. What do you think?
League of Legends, baby, Possible Productions, Figgy, and all of them. What they're doing with that, game platform already is far beyond what I think we've seen in the NFT space, and that's something where they already have the understanding to bridge that over here. So to do that would be fucking epic in my opinion. So if you haven't checked that out, go check out Possible Productions. Michael Figgy, that's actually, a company that he heads up, and they can do some pretty awesome stuff with sort of bringing real life and digital sort of, I guess, VR or even AR sort of effects to us as, we sort of get further into the blockchain technology. But it'll be pretty intense for us to see something where you can actually go and watch it live as a fan, but more so as a gamer, hear your fans. Like if I hear people chanting like a bomb, I'm gonna be fucking hyped, bro. And that's gonna be insane to be able to experience. Like if I have my flamethrower and I'm just roasting you, bro, in Wagmi-Sans arena, and people are like, oh yeah, burn Crypto Dilly's ass to a crisp. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, I don't know, it's just a different sort of experience than what I personally have had as a gamer so far. I think
Yeah.
that's something that is really special.
Well, let's dig a little bit deeper into some of this stuff. So I am gonna actually utilize Saskatoon Squatch's thread because I think it is so intuitive and it breaks things down. One of the biggest
He is
things,
the legend.
dude, straight up, like he's the OG sleuth. Shout out. But one of the big things that I notice is that we obviously are gonna like KYC, which is know your customer, and what that means is we're gonna have to obviously tell them who we are, register with our name, our address, like that kind of stuff, because they want to know that you're a natural person and the digital wallet is connected to you as an individual, so that way there's not duplicate accounts. And one of the highlights that he says is that you have to not be a minor, right? So what I think is really interesting about this is that they're crossing over obviously gamification and playing in this world, but also you're going to be able to earn like currency or rewards, right? So how do they do that other than they're going to start to actually implement entry fees as well, right? So right now it's been, hey, like we're going to start load in your avatars at this specific time and date. You have to have a specific PFP and that kind of thing still, but you're able to participate at large, right? Later on, once they build this out a little bit further, they're going to start implementing where you need entry fees to actually participate in specific things. And obviously, in my mind, that immediately makes me think, okay, there's going to be bigger rewards. There's going to be bigger things that are actually, given to the community for participation and not only developing this, but also just playing the game, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it makes perfect sense. We've seen Gala Games. I, have one of my good friends that works for some of these venues out here. And Gala Games rented out a huge venue to have this giant sort of immersive, gamified community event that took place. And it was huge. I think the top leaderboard winner got something over $1 million or some shit like that. So it's very interesting to see that, gamers are already, again, doing some of these sort of mechanics or playing with these, and now we knew is incorporating them into sort of what we've been doing with the blockchain technology with staking items or going on a mission on battle.town. But this is where it gets like almost, as people said, batshit crazy in my opinion. So I mean, to see something where we would be able to pay maybe, let's say, in one ape coin, which I don't know, like $5 right now, right? So you pay some ape coin to join this battle, if you will, and then depending on how you do, you get a specific amount allocated to you after the mission or the battle is done. So it's very basic. We've already seen it, but to see that take place in this new form of technology, which is the blockchain and, ApeCoin and, cryptocurrency and all that, that's a whole new level. And that to me is where it gets really exciting.
100%. I mean, I think it's a race right now. Everybody's kind of like trying to figure out how they're going to capitalize on this and build out the future of not only gaming but play to earn, and shift attention away from things. And I think I relate a lot of it to like Axie Infinity and stuff like that. But I think the focus that these teams have is beyond play to earn. I think that they're really about creating a space that attracts people to just like hang out and be a part of it, right? And so Wagmi-Sans Arena is just like one, in my opinion, side quest on this journey of building out this brand, right? This big behemoth. And one thing that I think about with like entry fees and different things like that is we're going to be able to see these different rewards and different things that play out. There's collaborations. There's a lot of opportunity there on that side of the business, as well as the attraction of gamers and mass adoption as well, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff kind of going in there. And one thing that Saskatoon Squatch highlights at the end of that thread is that we knew we'll have a royalty-free license to the content that you provide, but you still maintain ownership of the things that are used within these games, right? Within Wagmi-Sans Arena or Battletown, right? And that in itself, that's batshit, in my opinion, because this is the new age of games, right? Like I think about, and I hate relating it to this, but it's just so simple and it's easy for people to wrap their head around. It's like Fortnite skins, but rather than having Fortnite skins where the little kid just swipes his mom's credit card and he gets a skin, well, imagine being able to store that in the vault, right? Your wallet. And now you actually have ownership of that. And if they only created 5,000 of those skins and you happen to own one of those, if it becomes a very valuable skin, right? The skeleton skin, for example, and other kids want to purchase that, they can get into the marketplace, and now you have an open public market to be able to sell those items. And that's all tracked on the blockchain, right? So ownership, it's giving creators the power, right? That's amazing. And gamers.
That's where it's going to change the whole ecosystem and the landscape that we've seen in the past, where again, we've seen so many people invest time and effort, and money obviously into certain games, and then over time those ecosystems just die out because a new one is born and it's more interesting or has a different mechanic that the other one didn't. So with that, it sort of takes away from the gamer in that way, and the person that invested all of that, because even still, if this new one is born, there are still people that want to continue to play this one because they've invested in this OG one. But over time, it doesn't make sense for the person who's housing all of this data on these servers to continue running that because they're not making money off of it, and yada yada yada. Well, the blockchain is going to change that for us all, and being able to hold on to these assets for perpetuity, as we discussed with Jesse and sort of the other stuff with the Kagamis and the all that good stuff. Check that episode out.
Yeah.
But as long as we end up going in this direction further and further, where gamers and people who are involved in such, I guess, ecosystems can own these assets, it's game over, man. Like that's putting the power in the gamer's hands. So,
well, I mean, that's the future of everything, right? Like, I think the idea of blockchain technology with Web3 and thinking about production studios, right? What Cameron Malena is doing with non-fungible films, and what Gala Games is doing, and like all these different aspects of creating content. There's a whole new wave. If you watch the founder of FaZe Clan, he actually talks about this, and he talks about how currently these creators that are under the FaZe brand, well, if they lose their Instagram account and it gets banned, they no longer have that reach to their audience. But with NFTs, whenever you're able to actually build a community and give them that connection to their community through a non-fungible token, you have all the power as the creator to actually leverage your audience in your community. You don't have the power given to these platforms like Twitter and Instagram and YouTube even, right? A good example of this that I think of right away is Andrew Tate and also Steve Will Do It, right? They both got like,
Yep.
their accounts banned and their YouTube channels just destroyed, right? And so then they're just like fumbling, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to build content, right? Well, with NFTs, it changes all that, right? You can't cancel somebody, which can be scary, but they're still going to like have that platform, and that increases freedom of speech if you really think about it at the grand level.
Well, it also increases the concept of culture, right? Like this is something I've
Yeah.
hit on, and like we talked about with Jesse, which is like different strokes for different folks, man. Like there's some people like blueberries, some people hate blueberries. Like it's okay to hate blueberries, and it's okay to like blueberries. It's just going to be something where people are going to gravitate towards the culture that they prefer.
Yep.
And with some of this, what I also think is very interesting is the connection that we've hinted on and seen with the Yuga Labs other side and 10KTF. Now, where this got sort of interesting when we talked about it in one of these spaces, which was on Twitter. I'm sorry, I don't remember. It might have been Sunday's New Tokyo News with Alfalfa, Diamond, and Maybe. But that being said, it's interesting to see that Yuga Labs is busy building the base foundation that all of these other platforms or applications can exist on top of. So in my mind, it would be a huge undertaking for them to not only build the foundation but also have then a playable application that can be layered on top of that like instantaneously.
Yeah.
But what we've seen simultaneously is with a mission that was part of the other side's beta testing and sort of them figuring things out was a scavenger hunt for these glasses that took place. Those were Wagmi-Sans glasses. We all know it. So that being said, it would be interesting to see this arena be launched at
Yeah.
around the same time. The other side is a fully operable platform where meaning you can go into it. There's not like a lot to do because again, they built the foundation. You can go and venture out and check out some of these things and maybe harvest resources. But being able to play a huge game on there that's ready to go, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
So I think if Yuka's been doing that and we knew, aka 10KTF, has been doing the arena, the gamified, battle area that's going to take place, it matches up perfectly for them to be able to launch and have something to do when they launch.
Yeah, I mean, I think of like Yuga Labs more as IP, right? They are the ones that are building communities. They're the ones that are bringing the intellectual property and, attaching all that. And they're bringing that to the other side. And the other side is a platform that's being developed and created by Improbable. And who knows how many studios are actually working on this behind the scenes. At the end of season 1, whenever that trailer played out for We Knew and 10KTF, we saw all kinds of different production studios listed on the back end. And we had no idea that they were even working in tandem with them, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of resources at play, and I don't really think that we understand the magnitude of what's going on. And in order to build a game with a community, that's not something that's ever been done. I mean, just think about Rockstar Games and the fact that like their most recent Grand Theft Auto, some of their gameplay got leaked and they had to backtrack and scramble because they're like, oh, like that shouldn't have been leaked, right? Most game developers don't actually want to share or leak anything about what they're building. And that's something that's being totally revolutionized with the way that, the other side is developing things, right? And I know that this is a 10KTF like YouTube centric topic about Wagmi-Sans Arena, but I think the reason that we are kind of diving off into this rabbit hole is because Wagmi-Sans Arena, I think that it has deep roots to a metaversal landscape. And whether that's in the other side or like Herman Narella talks about, has multiple applications in multiple metaverses, it's something that has to be thought about as speculation, right? These are all speculative topics, but I think it's really important that we hit on it, right?
Oh, absolutely. And again, just getting into some of these points where we're, speculating some deep crevices, if you
Yeah,
will,
yeah.
but thinking that if even some of these things come true, where again, you're seeing this ability for someone to build an item as, let's say a new pioneer of this technology. They are like, oh, I have this idea, I want to build this, and you find a community that loves that, they get behind that, and then that thing, though, because it's built with maybe certain technologies like improbable software and whatnot, is able to be branched throughout other
Yeah,
metaverses, and I can take this
interoperability.
item throughout that. It's gonna be insane, man. So like, it's not really so much like if or anything like that. It's more so when, for
Yeah,
me.
100%. I agree with that. And I think that's what's so exciting about reading this terms of service, right? Is you kind of like peel back the onion layer by layer and you're able to look under the hood before it actually comes to fruition.
Which is weird to think that it's fun to read terms of service, because that's never fun to do at all. Like that's like a nightmare for most people. So, and that's
that's
again why, like, I want to
that's the hidden
shout out
alpha.
Squatch, right?
That's the hidden
Right, it
alpha,
is. But like,
man.
and like, shout out to all of those that actually fucking read that stuff though too, and then bring it to the light, because I'm not that guy. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like Squatch really did a lot of the alpha work in like laying this out, and then being like, oh shit, bro. Like, I would not be over here being like, oh yeah, you know about Wagmi-Sans Arena, had Squatch not done that. So shout out to
Truth.
Sasquatch and the legends that do that work. But yeah, I mean, it's just gonna get further and further where we see sort of these things, like you said, these background workings come to the surface, where we're like, oh, we didn't realize these people were actually working together, but they were. And these hints that were maybe, if sort of marketing applied, but still, it's we're in the depth of 10KTF is, OGs and shit, and we still are like, oh, I don't know what the hell's going on. So it makes it fun. I don't know. I just dig it.
I mean, I think it's really interesting. Like, obviously, we know based off of some of Herman Rella's tweets that like crafting is also something. So, interoperability in the terms of like a live statistics gameplay, right? It makes me think that we're going to be utilizing, like you said, these weapons and different things like that. I think first person shooters are obviously really popular. And so it would make sense that some kind of crossover or blend between the crafted items and the combat gear and these different items within the 10KTF ecosystem would be used in this Wagmi-Sans arena to actually increase the gameplay. And the reason that I'm speculating that more intensely is because the way that Battletown works as a granular, game now is you have the different slots where you fill those with these items, and depending on the rarity, you actually get a different score, right? So it would make a lot of sense that you plug in, you basically slap your items up on your avatar, and then you're able to go and play the mission as that loaded out character, right? And another thing that you and I have talked about in the past is like a level playing field with that, right? Like, imagine that you load up your character with combat boots and this, and this, and you're only able to select one PFP to go into this mission with, right? And
Right.
then maybe because you have multiple PFPs and you can build different loadouts, you're able to try multiple times to get the highest score because of the number of PFPs that you have, right? But everybody gets one solid chance at actually hitting the highest score, and you can pay an entry fee to be able to do those things, right? And that's
Right.
where like my wheels get turning, right? And I hope that I did that for you.
You see me just frothing at the tips over here. I'm like, but yes, exactly. I think that's where, again, things become very speculative, but very interesting at the same time. Where you have sort of these concepts where, yes, you could see a whale that has 1,000 PFPs or 1,000 items and whatnot, but really, if there's a select amount, like you can only load 5 items. Yes, whales have more items to choose from, but really, we all have 5 slots. So you can only load up 5 items and utilize those as such. So it is going to be interesting to see how whales and gamers, or gamers that are whales, or whales that aren't gamers — this is going to get real confusing — are taking part in this ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, like, someone like myself who's a gamer that maybe doesn't have a huge bag, but I can now show my skill set in this arena, if you will. And then a whale goes, "Hey, yo, you're bad, bro. Like, you're just sick, or I'm terrible, and they don't ever want to do this." But this is
Here's
just an
Warm
example.
Wallet.
But
Use my assets, bro.
precisely,
Yeah.
precisely. And now we're getting into this splitting of, the prize money and all that other stuff or whatever that prize is, but there's just so much that can take place, and I think that really is a fun fucking place to be right now. Like I know we're in a bear market, but like there's just so much that could happen.
I
So
mean,
I don't know.
you've talked about this before. I mean, like think about later on getting into some of those missions. We know that a lot of these guys that are at the top building out, Yuga and Winu and these different brands like Forgotten Ruins, they're big fans of what is it? World of Warcraft, right? And
Right, right,
MMORPGs, right? So like whenever you have this blend, like, and you think about that, like they all want to cross over and build like guilds, right? Maybe you have like your
exactly.
boys and you guys have particular items that mesh well to be able to go on a specific mission that requires specific items, right? So
Right.
like I think there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of different ways that this could go. 100%. Like
I,
we could be
I'm
off on Pluto right now, completely wrong, but this is exciting, right?
100%. Everyone just know that. Like this is speculative as hell. So, but I mean, again, like getting into sort of these like longer thought process of like where this could go. I mean, I know there's people that have crews that load up on Call of Duty and they won't play with anyone else. They play
Yeah.
with this person, this person, this person, and they fucking slay it though. So thinking about that sort of mentality where these people are like, bro, maybe they've never even met each other, which is similar to the blockchain and people not knowing each other. Like I just saw your PFP. I don't really even know who you are, but like at the end of the day, they get down together. And
Yeah.
that's something that gamers have in spades and have done for, quite some time now. So to see this being able to bridge into this new world and this new platform is going to be fucking awesome. Bro.
Well,
I just
and
can't wait.
I want to scale that back real quick because I don't just think that like they're thinking about these gamers, right? I think a lot of
Right.
this also is like the fact that you could do the first trip other side from a browser on a MacBook, like that type of level of, thought and the ability for mass adoption is completely there, right? And I think that these loaded in missions, obviously you're going to have an advantage if you got a nice computer with a graphics card that can actually process the information and you've played a lot of games. I think that the skill based stuff, you're going to see a lot of people kind of rise to the top there, but I also think that they're going to make it a browser based operation where you still could have somebody who has never played a game come in and still have an opportunity to score a good amount of points, right?
Well, think about this then. Think about tiered challenges. Okay, let's say you have like seasoned vets. Like, dude, I played Call of Duty in Bonds' class, like the very first Call of Duty ever. I've been playing it for quite some time. So that being said, how would you level the playing field? Maybe there's tiers. You have tier 1 is where everyone starts, right? You have to enter in here to figure out sort of where you're at from that point. So if you come in at this tier, right,
Ranked
and you're
lobbies.
slaying people, right, and you're just killing it, then you might have another tier where you could stay in this area, right? Like you could just continue to slay at that, but there's a higher reward the higher you go, but there's also a higher form of competitiveness and sort of equaling out the challengers in that way, because if you have tier 3 is like the mecca, like the people that just slay it are here, then that should obviously be the highest prize value, but also that's where you get a lot of eyes. That's why we see the NFL and basketball in certain, like obviously teams and sports just explode and get tons of eyes, is because the players that are there, that's what really brings it. And that's again that interesting thing where we as viewers can go check these fucking people out and then think about that as a company and the ad space value that brings. It's just insane.
It is crazy. I mean, just think about like Wagmi-Sans arena and like sponsors on the side of the arena and stuff like that. Like that is wild, and I think it's a really interesting, like the scalability of it whenever you start to think about things that speculative. Like that's a stretch in my mind, but I also think that nothing is out of question and out of reality, right? I think that if you can think it, you can dream it, it's possible with possible productions and we knew, right? Like they're going to make that, right? So I love that. And I do want to I don't know if you have a little bit more to say on this topic specifically. Do you have anything that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, not necessarily too much. I mean, it is very, again, there's we don't have a ton of concrete information to actually show the viewers, so it is hard to, I don't want to drown out like, oh, this could happen. Anything could fucking happen at the end
It's
of the day, right?
expansive.
Like, who knows? Yes, exactly. But at its core, I think we do know that there is some sort of arena that is coming. It's connected to the concepts that we've already seen with battle.town and, staking these items and getting some sort of rewards for participating in that. Now we're seeing the next level of that, I
Yeah.
think. And that's going to be something that is obviously just, I don't know. I think it's going to blow some people's minds. And I don't think it's going to be anything where it's mechanics that we haven't seen, but I think it's going to be different sort of experiences. You know what I mean? Like same mechanics, different
I think
experiences.
what is really interesting about what you just said though is I think season one it was really like really baseline. They were getting everything put out there. If you noticed over the past week, they've actually updated the banner for a lot of the collections. They've started to increase like the smoothness of the way that they actually like put out information, right? They've polished it
Right.
as a better way of saying it. So when you think about Battletown, we know that a lot of this stuff in the terms of service has not come to fruition yet, right? A couple of those things
Right.
is we have not seen where we had to KYC, right? We have not actually needed to pay entry fees, right? And the final thing is we know that there's no current, I mean, there's live statistics based off the tiers that we hit as strength in numbers, but that's the only mode that I think we've currently seen as strength in numbers. Like in the future of Battletown, I think split missions beyond just, loading in and like Oregon Trail style, we're going to start to see people like play the game. And like you said, I think things are going to be woven in over time. It's kind of like a frog and boiling water. If it started in the pot whenever it's cold and the temperature was just heated up, that frog won't ever know that it's in boiling water, right? But at the
Right.
end of this thing, because it's such like small things being added in and layered on, we're going to be at the end of this thing in batshit crazy, and we're not even going to
Yeah.
realize that it's batshit crazy because we've just been a
That
part of
we're
the
literally
experience.
in fucking boiling water at that point. I mean, the last little piece I want to bring up, and I didn't want to bring this up till the end because I wanted to just to sit on somebody's palate, is think about betting. There's
Oh,
so
dude.
much money that takes part in exchange with betting of sports betting, any type of betting.
Endeavor,
So if you're
bro.
talking exactly. So think about that for a second. Think about the connections that We Knew has, the core foundation, like these iron and brick and mortar things that they've just been putting in place here to really be able to do this huge movement of fun. Because that to me is a huge vision for you to be able to take not only a platform such as the other side and then build your own sort of ODK on top of that already existing platform, but then go further with it and have the opportunity for somebody who maybe isn't a player or a whale that's having their items played with, but just wants to fucking bet some coin on it, baby. Like that's where it gets crazy. So, I mean, I don't know. What are your all thoughts? Let
I
us know in the fucking comments.
I think one I want to throw this out there because I think this is something we have not uncovered. So I'm going to throw this in here real quick. Endeavor actually acquired a sports betting company called OpenBet. Now, the reason that this is so amazing, and I'm gonna let this end on the palette, right? But with what OpenBet does, you can go in and read a little bit more about it. But what they do is they do all the back end operations for a lot of these betting platforms. I think they actually it's the software for like DraftKings and for Fantasy Duel or FanDuel, a lot of these different betting platforms. They do the software, and Endeavor, which is a partner of We Knew, is actually who acquired OpenBet, right? So what you just said is actually insane whenever you start to really like unravel the tube and get down the spider web. But real
Yes.
quick, one final other thing to speculate on that was brought up by the community. Crypt Hot, he always digs deep. He came off of vacation, just sleuths around real quick and sees that the Kagami contract has minted some new Puma things, and we have no idea what it is. Drop in the comments what you guys are thinking, what your speculation is. We might be doing a video on that. Also, next week, at the time of filming this, it'll be Wednesday, and the following, I think, Monday is the mint for my project Drifters of Alta. Definitely check that out. Brian Toops, he's a amazing fantasy novelist, and he also takes a lot of photos of astrology. I actually just got a Milky Way photo, which is amazing, but amazing guy, amazing creator, and just really thoughtful. And he's building out this world, and I'm the artist that created 2,000 editions of his characters within the book. So go check that out if you are interested in. And then don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget, we have a new video every Wednesday for you to check out. And we just appreciate you guys supporting us and being here and watching all of our content. So again, this is Crypto Dilly with my boy A-Bomb, and we'll see you next week.